So you want to know which is the better robot vacuum between the Roomba S9 Plus and the Neato D7. Well, you're in the right place. We at Vacuum Wars have tested both of these robot vacuums extensively. In fact, the Neato D7 won our best robot vacuum competition last year, but that was before the S9 Plus came out. So links in the description for current prices on both robots, and let's get started. Starting off with power. These are two of the most powerful robot vacuums on the market. In fact, of all the robot vacuums we've tested, and that's quite a few at this point, these two have the highest airflow that I've ever measured, with the Neato D7 having 20 CFM of airflow on high power, and the S9 with just a little more at 22 CFM on high power. In terms of cleaning mechanics, they're really similar. With the S9, iRobot did a complete redesign of the body style, giving it more of the D shape that Neatos have been known for. So they both now have a front-mounted, longer brush roll, which is better for edge and corner cleaning, and has a wider cleaning path that you typically see with robot vacuums. The main difference in terms of cleaning hardware being that the S9 has a dual brush and Neato only has one. In practice though, we found that they were both incredibly good with debris pickup on hard floors and carpet. I should really emphasize here that they were extremely good, especially if you have them on max power mode. The pickup was clean, without a lot of scattering of debris, which is common with other robot vacuums. I would give the edge here to the Neato D7 for a few reasons. The first is that its low power mode is still at 17 CFM of airflow, which is relatively high, so it can be run on low to save battery life, and it still has great pickup, where the S9's low power drops way down to 8 CFM, where it really isn't that great. The S9 does also have an auto mode where it will automatically adjust the suction based on the floor type, so that's a little better, but it's still pretty low when it's not boosted. Also, the S9 really doesn't like the large piles of debris that we use in our admittedly unrealistic test. Don't get me wrong, it did pick everything up by the end of its run, but it really didn't like all that large debris at one time, and it took a few passes to pick it up, and it made some crunching noises. The Neato, on the other hand, pretty much ate up anything you threw at it regardless of size or amount. And that brings us to the carpet deep cleaning test, where we embed exactly 100 grams of sand into medium pile carpet and then weigh the dustbins before and after their run. Here the Roomba S9 Plus really knocked it out of the park with a 93 and 96% score in the two tests we did, and I have to tell you, I've never seen any robot vacuum come close to this level of deep cleaning, and I didn't really even know it was possible. And while I didn't get a chance to test the D7 with this exact method when I had one, I have tested the Neato D3 and D4, which have the exact same motor and basic specs as the D7, and they only scored 76 and 79% respectively, so I can't imagine the D7 getting much higher than that. I'm not sure, but I think that iRobot lowered the brushes on the S9 Plus a little, which not only accounts for the higher deep clean scores on carpet, but also the crunching of the larger debris that we saw earlier. Let's move on to one of my favorite categories, which is navigation. They use different methods to map out your home and navigate. For example, the Neato D7 uses LiDAR, which is basically an invisible spinning laser, and the Roomba uses a top-mounted camera. They're both smart navigation robots, meaning that they navigate in more or less straight lines while working around obstacles. The net result of these technologies is very similar. They both have extremely good coverage, much better than a random robot for sure, but also quite a bit better than cheaper smart navigation robot vacuums. The Neato D7 has a number of really cool features related to navigation, our favorite being the no-go lines. This is where you use the app to draw multiple lines in the app to keep the robot from going where you don't want it to go. This is one of those features that I highly recommend. I feel like your experience with a robot vacuum will be vastly improved if you can program the app to avoid all the places in your house that it's likely to get stuck. And it makes this scheduling feature so much better since you never come home to a stuck robot. The Neato D7 also has a zone cleaning feature where you can tell it to clean certain rooms and leave out others. Now the Roomba S9 Plus has an equivalent to the zone cleaning feature where you can clean certain rooms and not others, but up until very recently, Roombas did not have anything like the no-go lines feature. But this week, all that changed. iRobot began a rollout of something they call keep-out zones, which seems to be a feature very similar to the no-go zones on the Neato. The software update for keep-out zones will automatically roll out to customers in bursts over the course of this summer, with the Roomba i7 robot vacuums included in the first phase, the Roomba S9 robot vacuums, and others with the imprint mapping technology in the second phase. And you can be sure that we'll review the keep-out zones as soon as they become available, so be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars. I should also mention that the D7 and S9 can remember multiple floor plans. So if you have a multi-floor home, you can bring the robot up or down the stairs and start it, and it will recognize where it is and vacuum accordingly. The elephant in the room, though, is this thing, the auto-empty system called the Clean Base, and for now, you're only going to find something like this on the Roomba i7 Plus and S9 Plus. I feel like the Clean Base helps to deliver on the promise that robots would make our lives better and do so with as little input from us as possible. So far, the Clean Base has lived up to that promise. It has a huge motor which cleans out the dustbin really easily, and it just seems to function really well. The Neato D7 does have an absolutely huge dustbin at 700 milliliters, which is probably the biggest dustbin in the industry, and so it requires a lot less emptying than normal, but it doesn't empty itself, so big points for the S9 Plus here. Battery life is a little less important with smart navigation bots like these two, since if they ever do run out of battery, they will return to their base to recharge and then resume cleaning your house exactly where they left off. But they both claim to have 2 hours of battery life on low power, but when you cross-reference that number with their airflow output on each power setting, you can see that the D7's battery has better battery life to power output numbers overall. In terms of price, they're both top-of-the-line flagship robots from their respective companies, but the S9 can be almost twice the price of the D7 depending on the current prices, and that's a lot. So keep that in mind when we try to figure out which is better. So before iRobot had announced that they were adding keep-out zones, I probably would have given the crown to the D7 here, even though it doesn't have the Clean Base Auto Empty feature. But now that keep-out zones are coming this summer, it really tips the scales back to the S9 Plus for me, not just because of the Clean Base, but also because of those carpet deep cleaning scores. But let's be honest, the price on the S9 Plus is a huge barrier, and the Neato D7 is light years better than almost every other robot vacuum on the market, so it's not like you can go wrong with picking one up, especially with such a huge price difference. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars to keep up with all the latest robot vacuums, regular vacuums, and carpet cleaners. Thanks for watching.